What is up? What is up, Whale family? Nightmare here, and this is Whale FM's Fireside Chat with Artists. In this show, we talk about everything and anything art and crypto in the NFT scene with designers and creators alike, otherwise known as non-fungible tokens. And my guest today is the amazing Jam Factory, the multimedia passion project alias of globe-trotting animation studio director and designer Gavin Strange. His creativity extends from filmmaking to toy design, illustration, photography, and this self-proclaimed maker of noise has brought his vivid imagery to the blockchain. Gavin, thank you for joining us today.
What an intro. Thank you so much. And also, I love the countdown with a big tune. That is the energy we need tonight. So thank you very much for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm really excited to have you on too. I tell you what, we always do homework and want to have a thorough understanding of the people that are coming on as guests. And you are so multifaceted. It was an incredible amount to absorb, but I really, really enjoyed it. Now, we've only talked briefly before this, but it's like the stuff that you were talking about and all your different media and just kind of your whole vibe, I just connected with in a way I don't with a lot of artists. So props to you for really putting yourself out there in such a way that it resonates with people.
Yeah, well, thank you, mate. That's really, really kind of you to say. I mean, I often feel like I do a lot of things, but do I do any of them well? I don't know. I try my hardest. I love them, and there's just so many mediums, disciplines, techniques to play with and experiment with, and life's too short not to. And for me, crypto is the perfect place to experiment as well.
Sure. So I'd love for the audience to get an idea of what Jam Factory is all about, what you're all about. And I know you prepared some stuff, so I'm going to go ahead and share that. And if you want to walk us through kind of, your journey and what makes you, I'd love to hear it.
That sounds great. Yeah, thanks so much. So hello, everyone. It's awesome to be here. So a little bit of background about me. My name is Gavin Strange, and I go under the alias of Jam Factory. And I'm a director and a designer, and that is both my official job title, and it's also kind of the label that I choose to give myself in my passion project time as well. I feel like I've got these two identities, which I absolutely love. So my name really is Gavin Strange, and I go by the name of Jam Factory on the internet. And I've also now got sort of Jam Crypto is my crypto specific Twitter account, and I love that I've done this, to be honest. I've been on the internet for a long time. I've been doing sort of digital design for the last 20 years. I'll go into a little more depth as to how I got here, but what I love about crypto is kind of made me rethink everything that I thought I knew, in a really healthy way, in a really great way that makes you sort of take stock of yourself, lose the ego, kind of, and build things up from scratch. And so building things up from scratch in terms of like a Twitter following is something that I've been doing as well. And a lot of my friends have done the same. So I'm really glad I feel like I've been around the internet for a while, but with the crypto space, it's also new and exciting. So I kind of now got these dual identities within the world of crypto as well. So please do come and follow me and my nonsense on there. So a little bit of context then is that by day I'm a director and a designer for a creative studio called Aardman. And Aardman has been around for the last 40 years or so, and it's probably best known for things like Chicken Run and Wallace and Gromit and Shaun the Sheep. But that's just kind of some of the stuff it does. It is a creative studio, basically, that has made all sorts of work. It has a really strong CG team. It has an amazing interactive department. It does 3D stuff. It does 4D stuff. It does events. It does immersive experiences. It's an actual dream job. I really genuinely love what I do, and I've been there for 14 years now. I basically adored Aardman when I came to Bristol in the UK, which is where we are based. I demanded that a friend of mine take me to take me to the Aardman building, because I just wanted to stand outside and be close to it and be near it, because for me in England, we grew up with the Wallace and Gromit movies. They were on every Christmas. They are like a Christmas tradition, right? They are just kind of part of your DNA. And so I was a big fan of what they made. And so for me to be there now and to be a director there is really, really special to me. I really don't take that lightly. I joined as a designer. I joined as a digital designer, but really early on, I just didn't let it. I didn't let it sort of slide that I was in. All the stuff that we were talking about. I was a filmmaker, and I was a toy designer and a character designer. I didn't shy away from telling them that stuff. And what was so great about Aardman is they were so receptive to it. They didn't make me go, look, you work for Aardman now, so your stuff that you do outside of work, that's irrelevant. They didn't do that at all. If anything, they really actively encouraged it, to the point that I'd only been there maybe a year, and I had a big launch of a toy. I'd created a vinyl toy called Droplets, and I had a launch in Bristol, and I had sort of like a big launch. It was the first place you could get this vinyl toy, and also we had like an art customs exhibition where people would physically customize these little toys. And I sort of came out of the event, and people were queuing to get in, and I couldn't believe it. I was blown away. And then sort of in the queue, nestled there, was Peter Lord, who is one of the co-founders of Aardman. He's got an MBE. He's a very decorated director and creative, and he was just queuing like a regular person. To me, he's the king of Bristol. He's the king of creativity, and my boss also. But the fact he was queuing, and I've not been at Aardman very long. He didn't know me very well. I did go up to him and say, Pete, this is amazing. Thank you so much. But why are you here? You don't have to queue. And he just said, I was really interested in what you're doing, and I wanted to come and support. So for me, early on, to have someone I really respected, and also my boss, and someone who founded the company, just take an interest in the passion project, that just accelerated things for me. That really kind of made me want to dig deep and work even harder in developing my own stuff and being my own creative. And that really sort of fed into the Jam Factory side of things, which is what I'm showing now, which is my current showreel, is joining that place as a designer, but really showing and sharing all of my filmmaking things along the way. Eventually paved the way for the support and the nurture and the mentorship that will eventually lead me to becoming a director, which to be able to sort of jump careers, but also keep my passions as well, to be both a director and a designer was just a joy. And that's what I do to this day. I absolutely love it. I can jump between sort of digital design, graphic design, illustration, motion graphics, animation. Then I can also jump to directing projects, and being part of a much bigger team, particularly stop frame animation. I love directing stop frame. I can't animate stop frame myself. It's not a skill set I have, but directing just lets you be a part of these big teams. So it's been a really exciting journey for this stuff, and yeah, I just sort of try my hand at everything really. And this is kind of what's shown on screen. I love all styles, all mediums, all colors, and yeah, I do feel like life is too short to not try this stuff. Have a go, have a play, tinker, learn, grow, experiment, fail. And I think because I've never really had any downsides to trying this stuff in my own time. The only difficulty is as I get older to try and find the time to make it. I've got 2 kids, and we were talking about kids' nightmare, weren't we, just before? And trying to find that time, but I've always the reward, the sort of emotional reward for making stuff just far outweighs being tired, for example, and so trying to force the hours in. And I've just been super fortunate that passion, I guess, has rewarded me in being able to work on projects that I never even thought of, and take me places that I never even thought of. And that extends to music as well. And so I created another alias called Project Toy that I just make wonky music because it's pure joy of creation. And yeah, it takes you places you never thought of. I ended up writing a book about sort of following your creative passions. It's been published around the world, and that all came from like just loving what I do and doing talks around the world. So I really fell into the talking circuit, and enjoy sharing sort of my passion, but also sort of trying to dissect the realistic way to make things happen. I sort of call myself a realistic idealist or an idealistic realist, because you can't really be like this totally floaty idealistic person, because nothing really ever gets done. But at the same time, you can't be fully practical because you need to be a dreamer at the same time. So I think I'm just kind of living in this sort of creative duality all the time, and I really believe it, and I really love it, and I feel like there's billions of people on the planet who also are just dying to be as creative as possible, but it can be really bloody hard to do it. And so I just kind of like sharing that's all you can ever do, right? You can only share your journey and the way that you have done stuff, and it's all sort of culminated for me in different ways, and the book is one of them. So yeah, I won't carry on rolling for the rest of the presentation, but that's kind of a little bit of a glimpse as to who I am and how I got here.
No, that's incredible. I mean, it's obvious your energy is infectious already. I think a lot of people would ask, and I think we're delving more towards the book side, but since you brought it up, you have all these creative ideas and all this energy. How do you find the ability to focus and be good at each individual thing? Because all of between your NFT artwork, your music, your animation, the stuff you do on Twitch, I mean, things are outstanding all across the board. I just have a bunch of ideas that are half done, right? And so I think that's what a lot of people find. They get the energy and they can't finish it. How do you manage to do all that so well?
Oh, that's so kind of you to say. Thank you, man. I mean, I don't think I ever focus on trying to be good. I would love it if I could be good. I don't really know if I am, if I ever am, but I kind of try, especially my own stuff. During the daytime, that's what you're paid to do. It's like you've got to be your best, and that's what I strive to do. But I kind of use the passion project time, all the other time, to really try and hone those skills. And it's more about, I just figure if I try and carve out the time and try and carve out the energy, then hopefully good will be a byproduct. And even if it's not good, I will have learned something, because I will have tried a new technique, or I would have failed at a new technique, and that kind of arms me with something more. And I think really I just try and take as many steps back as it takes to try and get a bit of perspective, and just think, well, at the end of the day, you can either try and go forwards or not. Either look at things positively or negatively, and there's too much darkness in the world. So I just try and think, try and find the positive in everything, and try and do good, and try and go forwards. And the tricky thing is finding the time, and I just have to constantly look at my sort of schedule. I used to try and cram a lot in my lunch times. You'd be surprised what you can get done in an hour, right? When you're focused, when you know that you only have an hour. It used to be at night times. I would work in the evenings. My wife Jane is a really great jewelry designer and maker, so she understands what it is to have that creative drive. She doesn't. If I just finish work and we've done bedtime and bath time for the kids, if I then want to disappear and be creative, she understands that. So I think having a supportive partner is really, really a really key thing. But over the time that has changed. So I don't do evenings at the minute, because we've got a brand new baby girl and I want to be with them. So okay, I look at the clock and think, well, the only time for me to really have time to myself then is to get up before everyone else gets up. So at the minute I'm getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning on the weekdays, and I've kind of got a little a window of an hour and a half perhaps before the family wakes up for me to do stuff. And it just makes you hyper focused, because that's all the time you can get, isn't it? So I think that's it. I think I just try and be quite fluid and flexible, because life always changes. Life throws different stuff at you, and I try and be as productive and positive as I can be in that moment, because the next day might change, the next week might change, and flipping it, directing that towards crypto. Bloody hell, a week in crypto is like a year, isn't it?
Yeah,
I've
definitely.
never been in something that's such an accelerated sort of like roller coaster sort of thing. And that's, for me, that's, again, you can even see the negative in it and think like, God, I'm drowning. I don't know what's going to happen next. Or you can just be like, okay, let's get on the roller coaster and see where it goes. And so, yeah, so I think I just try and take everything as positively as I can be. And, also, like, I always have the dips and I always have my ups and downs and, creative frustrations. And and also, it's not to be underestimated how the highs of crypto are very high, but the lows are very, very low as well, right? You are seeing your peers and your contemporaries making great work, and the whole thing it really has associated value, because of course you see that work sells and what it sells for. So it's art and commerce is inextricably linked in this crypto world, so it's very hard to sort of detach yourself, because it's all about perceived value, and of course that value to yourself can be quite an emotional thing. So it's a bit of a wild ride, but yeah, I enjoy the pace of it and sort of seeing where it can go.
You're right. It is a crazy juxtaposition sometimes, and being able to emotionally weather it. And I think just from a crypto perspective, people that were here in 17 and before certainly have taken that roller coaster. And, and like you said, in the NFT space, you can experience that too. But like you said in some of your talks, right, you can melt faces, and I'm sure crypto is melting plenty, and so is the NFT space. But before we go on too much further, you can do all this amazing stuff. How did this happen? Are you self-taught, or did you have some formal education in this?
That's a really good question. No, I don't really have any formal education. No, my only education is 2 years. When I was 16 until I was 18, I did. It's called a BTEC National Diploma in Graphic Design. It was a small college in Leicester, in the Midlands of England, where I'm originally from, and I was truly rubbish. It is a running joke with my friends that I have this dream job at a studio that I really love and admire. But back then, I was truly awful. But I thought I did. I was doing graphic design, but I was also really into film at the time, and I spent all of my time writing terrible scripts. But I think I had the desire, and I had I was just a magpie. I just was like, oh, but I really like computers, and they had like a suite of Macs at the time. This is 20, 21, 22 years ago. And I didn't have my own home computer back then. And so they had all of these sort of the G4 beautiful Macs. And so I was sort of like really interested in technology. So I wanted to play with that. At the same time, I wanted to write. At the same time, I wanted to do characters. And so actually, it's kind of always been the same. And like, this is a photo from me back in the day, where actually I'm sort of self-taught for the rest of it, because I learned on the job. I got my first job as a junior graphic designer when I was 17. So just before I finished that course, I didn't go to university or college, because it just didn't appeal to me. I didn't fancy it. I didn't want to. I don't drink and I don't smoke, and I thought that's all college/university was. I just thought it was a party time, and I'm not really a party person. So I in my youthful, stupid, naive logic, just went, well, if I don't want to do that, why would I go to a place that provides that? And so I just quite simply went, maybe I'll get a job then. My poor parents, bless them, I think they wished that I had more of a plan,
Right.
which I didn't. But I just got into it, and so this is me making hand painted skateboards in my mate's garage, and just all done in Illustrator, and then working out how to print out templates and cutting templates with a scalpel and learning to use a spray can, and I include this image because it kind of really represents I've still been doing the same thing, essentially having a job where I learn and I grow, and you learn with pressure, because at the end of the day it's a commercial. People are you have to deliver, because you are being paid to do so. But then I get so enthused as to what I'm doing in the daytime that I want to then kind of like learn more and do things in my own time. And so this is another fast forward to possibly another 10 years after that. And this was actually this droplet launch. So the actual vinyl toys were very small. They were like 2.5 inches big. But we a friend of mine, a sculptor, and making a gigantic version, and then we turn that gigantic version into a gigantic toy. So that big blue glossy thing there is about 5 foot tall. But this was all passion project stuff. This was all just favors with friends, collaborations, just trying to get stuff out there. And fast forward again to this is an NFT that I made a few weeks ago to celebrate 20 years of being Jam Factory, and it was minted on the exact 20th year since I first registered my domain, which was jam-factory.com, and it's a 2020 by 2020 pixel image size, and it's a 20 frame loop, and it's 0.20 ETH each, and an addition of 20. And so even just those 3 slides to me, it just kind of represent going to work, learning there, and then in my own time really using that passion to sort of just try all sorts of stuff. And then that informs what my day job is. I would hope that hopefully that just adds to my skill set, because even if it's just researching a different artist technique, or whoever I'm inspired by, when you're working with other people, right, in a professional capacity, even just if you're useful, someone's saying, I need a concept artist, and you're the person that goes, I know just a person, because I'm, when you're so immersed in that world, you can, I think, just be useful to anyone. You can be a connector. It may not always be that you are doing the work. It may just be that you're so in that space that you just want to be useful. And again, that relates back to crypto as well. It's really lovely being part of a community. Really, I think that's what struck me so much, is that real time, very quick camaraderie between everyone. And it feels like the good old days of the internet, because I started this site 20 years ago where you could hack together everything that you wanted, and the internet was a bit like the Wild West, and you had all of these brilliant subcultures. But of course, recently the internet's pretty homogenized, isn't it? It all looks the same, it all works the same way. But then crypto just comes in and boom, smashes the doors in, and it's sort of like the Wild West again, and anything goes, but with all of the modern technology that we have. So yeah, so that's a little bit of a potted history that basically it's been sort of self-taught and but learning on the job.
Very cool. Two questions from that. Number one, you said you registered Jam Factory and established it 20 years ago. At the onset, was that what it was? Just something to represent this amalgamation of all the different things you want to do, or was there a specific purpose?
No, that's a great question. Yeah, it really was. It was my boss at the time. So yeah, I was an 18-year-old kid with hair, which has long disappeared, and I didn't know anything. And my boss, I joined as a junior graphic designer, but really early on, there was this guy who worked in this other little room, and he was the head of new media, because that's what the internet was called back then, right? And he says, "Look, do you want to learn to be a web designer? I'll teach you to be a web designer." I remember just thinking, well, that sounds exciting. Okay. And he took me under his wing, but he really just thought, look, you need to learn quicker. You need to get better quicker. And he said, look, one of the best ways is to, all the stuff I'm teaching you, because I was doing the design, so digital design, but he was also teaching me to build and code websites as well. So I was learning HTML and CSS. And so he says, look, the best way is register a domain name. I'll show you how, I'll show you where to go, and I'll show you how to use FTP, showed me everything. And I desperately thought, okay, this is basically a portfolio. I didn't even think of it as a portfolio then. It really was a playground. It was a place to sort of experiment. But I was massively inspired by sort of like 123 Clan and 2 Advanced and Designers Republic and Designers Kinky and K10K, all of these sort of sort of websites and designers and creators who had these cool alter ego names. I'm a fan of rap music as well, so I was always just into people using aliases. I just thought it was cool, and I thought, okay, I'm gonna have my own alias, and it's gonna be wicked. And I went to the domain name website, the registrar website, and I was like, okay, this is it. And I couldn't think of anything, so I just typed Jam Factory. Oh, it's free. and I stuck with it, and I've stuck with it ever since. And so it basically started as a playground, and in the middle of all this, I did end up working for myself for 4 years. I sort of left my first job and then went it alone. So Jam Factory became my professional portfolio. But what I discovered is I put everything on there, from the digital design that was my bread and butter that I was being paid for, but also the character design, the photography, the filmmaking, because I realized that anyone looking at your portfolio, they don't care when you did it. They don't care if you did it at 3 o'clock in the afternoon for a client or 3 o'clock in the morning for yourself. You know, the work is the work, right? You know, if it resonates with someone, if it connects with someone, then when it was done or why it was done is irrelevant, which is, you know, I found really, really special. So over those years, I ended up getting a few extra gigs that were more character design related or toy design or all of those different things. And so that just reinforced that, yeah, I'm just going to keep going with it. And I kind of have done the same thing ever since. Whatever I've done, I upload it and it lives there. Because why not? You know, for anything, for posterity, I made that, and I'm proud of it.
Yeah, no, that's very cool. I had to go the opposite route and had to try to get GeoCities to scrub my existence off the internet because it was embarrassing. So I kind of had the opposite experience than you. But two things before I let this go, I have to just comment. You know, you mentioned you're a fan of rap music, and I had it down here when I saw the Chronic pixel art piece. That was very cool. So you answered that question preemptively. But if no one's seen it, I think it's on your foundation or
on Foundation. Yeah,
on Foundation is a pixel art cover of the Chronic. So props to you. I was definitely a fan of the Chronic and the early Death Row days as well. You mentioned community, and I just kind of noticed, you know, a group of very creative, talented, awesome artists kind of helping each other. It seems like you, Signal Noise, maybe Griff. Do you guys have a little squad or something? Because I see a lot of stuff going on between you guys.
Yeah, we do. So we're calling ourselves Exo Syndicate. It's a little group of us. So it's Chris Skinner, it's Genuine Human, it's Signal Noise, and it's Griff. And we all got into crypto art at the same time in 2020. And if anything, it was born out of a bit of a support group, because, you know, we're all artists, we're all professional artists that we've all been doing it a long time. But, you know, part of the joy is those highs that you are kind of starting again. You aren't, and you are. You know, it's all kind of a mishmash, and so, you know, navigating that space you know, I think can be quite mentally challenging. And so we just sort of ended up forming this little Discord group, and we talk all day, every day. And, you know, we've all got each other's backs, which I love, but also we all respect all of the different work that we make. We all make totally different stuff, and we all just love it as well. You know, we all just have really fallen into this scene and really enjoy being a part of it. We enjoy creativity. And also then, you know, there's so many people that we know online now, and I love that sort of Twitter has been reclaimed as the home of crypto, and, you know, I think that's really exciting. And yeah, so it's really nice having that camaraderie of people together, and also there's now there's huge waves of just incredible artists that me and Signal Noise met on the talk circuit. So we would speak at things like FITC, which is a big creative conference, and OFF in Barcelona, Spain, which is this huge event where you're on stage with 3,000 people, and it's bonkers. Me and James actually do a Signal Noise do a event together called Hustlemania, where we have confetti cannons and we have loud music, and it's kind of more like a show, a rap show, rather than a creative talk. So we met there, and through, you know, doing online talks, we've, you know, met and become friends with you know, G Monk and Josh Davis, PlayStation, and Mike People. And so it's amazing, sort of, you know, having these digital buddies that we see around the world, and now seeing those guys into the space, and obviously you can't talk about crypto without people literally kicking the doors in, waving the 4-4. You know, it's bonkers. It's absolutely bonkers, and that's really exciting to see that these worlds starting to collide together. It's great. Community is fantastic.
Yeah, and now and basically you just described that you are part of the NFT equivalent of a hip hop supergroup. So we will all be eagerly awaiting the posse cut, because there has to be some collaborations and behind the scenes you can't talk about. I know it's coming, but something grand and scale, I'm sure.
It definitely is, yeah. And we've been talking about it for ages, but again, that kind of comes back to the sort of like, right, everyone's trying to find their time, and everyone's also just throwing, working hard on this stuff. But yeah, there's definitely going to be like a posse record that we put out, just because we love it as well. We really love it, and I think it's a great space to play and to collaborate. And also, what we all love about blockchain technology is kind of the archive, not the archive function, but the fact that it's for posterity. I love that. For example, like looking at the Pink Factory there, that will forever be recorded, that 20 years on from registering and the domain name originally, that was minted, on the blockchain and by me, and people have collected it. I really like that. I'm quite sentimental, and I think it's very cool that it's sort of, its underlying feature is about recording it, the ledger aspect of it. I think that's very cool for just kind of marking these events, however big, whether it's, a Beeple big, or it's just, as regular folk minting a piece that we really believe in. So yeah, there's a lot of cool aspects to all of this.
Yeah, for a long time, the narrative was, we're leaving digital footprints in a negative connotation, that we're being tracked and things of that nature. And now, artists have really come to the forefront and said, okay, well, we're going to own it, take control of what this is going to be, and we're going to leverage this for positivity in a lot of different ways. So, props to you and everyone else working on that for sure. I would love if you could, walk us through, some more of your work, and just kind of talk to us about, your art, where you draw inspiration, your aesthetic, and the evolution of it.
Yeah, that sounds great. Yeah, what a great segue. We're pros at this. So what I've got on screen at the minute actually is something I threw together the other day, which was nearly all of the things that I have minted on the good old blockchain so far. And I really have one definable style. I love pink, so that's kind of clear. But and that is for a long time kind of bothered me, that I don't have a discernible, like an aesthetic visual style that I'm known for. But kind of what I've learned to do instead is actually kind of like cultivate a creative voice rather than a visual style. And if anything, I think I would want my voice to be fun and silly and bright and bold and at times noisy, hopefully characterful. And I just try and make and just play and experiment. From bottom left here, there was some, these are some sort of design photo manipulation things where I combined 35mm photography that I shot on a beloved camera that I love called a Leica M6, this gorgeous, beautiful piece of machinery, and combined it with some digital manipulation versus, the stuff that's top left and top middle, with that's all audio reactive visual stuff. So that is me making the music, making the beats, and then designing and building audio reactive visualizers. And actually my first three things that I minted, my Genesis piece is actually the back X thing that you see just over on the right hand side. I went with that because actually I wanted to do something different, because people don't often associate that kind of an aesthetic, like a bit darker, a bit grungier. And the making music and doing audio visualization stuff is very personal. I just really enjoy it. No one's asked me to do it for them. That's never crept into my professional career. I just really enjoy the mix, and so I kind of went that way to begin with. But then I just realized that actually you are free and totally free to do whatever you like. And so from photo manipulation to some more character-based stuff. So down the bottom, we've got two things called Gibby midis. one on the bottom left, which is like got a joystick for a nose. That was the first one I made, called Giddy Midi, and that was collected by Jamie from 100XR for his gallery, and that was sort of like a characterful, silly, fictional musical instrument, and I made music as well. So it's sort of audio visual, but it's characterful and it's silly. And then the thing with Speakers for Eyes is a follow up. Yeah, and so I just enjoy playing. There's stuff in the middle is a big pixelated character. That was just real experimentation, and I'm fascinated by sort of Amiga Quattros from the 90s, where you would get a cracked game, and before the game loads, you would have all these crazy graphics that the crackers will have made themselves with really amazing audio. And I'm also really interested in pixel art as well, so I'm sort of really wanted to mix together big pixels and abstract art, and so then you've got some still images here next to the big thing that's moving in between all the audio visual stuff. I've got these sort of abstract pixel painting canvas things that, again, I've just really enjoyed playing with, and I like playing. I love the freedom that the space gives you, and you know, a lot of these are one-on-ones, but also I've really enjoyed doing editions as well, because, you know, a way to connect with other people, and you know, like I want that from artwork that I've collected of artists over the time that I've been here. I love having a one-of-one, but also I like being a part of a subgroup. Like, I'm one of 20, you know, I like that, because, you know, other people have collected it. So I've not really had any hard or fast rules, which can mess with you. You know, you think, oh, am I doing it right? Am I doing it wrong? You know, so-and-so's doing this, and they're, you know, if you're looking at it monetarily, they're stacking mad ETH and they're doing really well. So you can look, you can sort of end up, you know, over analyzing what you do, but I just really enjoy making this stuff. So this is a bit of a closer dive at some of my audio visual stuff, and I've kind of got a bit of a rule here. All of my music I put out under the alias of Project Toy, just because why not? Another alias is fun to do. Again, I just love creative aliases, and so made that one up. And I sort of created branding for it. Any excuse to do a brand, I will do it. And the sort of the logo for Project Toy is all made up of a capsule, sphere, and triangle. And so I try and limit myself to, when I'm making audio visualize, I just use either all three together or one of them. And I guess it's also just kind of, you know, I quite like those graphic limitations. Coming from a graphic design background, I like that. I like those imposed rules, because it kind of forces you to be creative within that space. So I really enjoy making this. I think all but one of those have gone. So please, you know, if anyone's watching, please do go and listen as well. I think this sort of stuff is best. Go and pop your headphones on and have a listen. These are all of my known origin gallery. And I just really enjoy playing. So yeah, then that, you know, this is some of my more characterful stuff, and I've always loved making characters and toys, and so I kind of want to do more of that in the space, and so I've got a few plans for what I'm to, you know, with more of those things. And I jump around a lot, and I've been thinking about this recently. And, you know, I'm sure maybe that puts a few collectors off, because it's sort of like, I'm not known for any one thing. But to try and spin the positive, I would hope that, you know, hopefully that just means that I might surprise people, or you know, my work has at least that common thread of fun and energy and diversity, maybe. I don't know. You know, again, you have to sort of stop self-analyzing, because you can basically paralyze yourself, can't you, with thinking, what do other people think? What should I do? What shouldn't I do? And then you realize you've not done anything. So I try and just kind of go forwards, and just whatever silly idea pops into my head, I just then go for it. And I've enjoyed doing physical stuff as well. This was something that that I did recently called Pusher. And it was obviously it was a digital piece, which I love making. And then I've got a great friend who runs a big printing company here in the southwest of England, and he is awesome. So this is an A1 print that came with it, and it's printed on really, really gorgeous paper. It's really vibrant. It's really, really lovely to touch. And so I did these as an edition of 5, which have all sold out. And you know, it's lovely. It's lovely shipping them around the world as well, which is awesome. And so, you know, I've really enjoyed playing with that with physical releases as well, and that's something that I want to do more of, because I really enjoy it. I love all sides of it. You know, I love it being pure digital, I love it being a still, I love it being an animation, I love it being physical, I love it being a combo, I love animation, I love audio, and I just kind of want to do as much as possible. You know, this is some of that abstract stuff that's a lot more I guess more art gallery, but I'm really proud of it. I love it. A wonderful collector called Stephen picked up both of these pieces, and it's also that, you know, that connection with someone going, I like what you've done and I would like to collect that. That's a really awesome feeling, and it's because it's so direct. You know, obviously sometimes it can be anonymous, but just that knowing that someone believes in it as well is wicked. That's a really, really lovely thing. And you know, this is something totally different. This is something that's on my foundation page right now, actually, that's ready and raring to go. And this was just a graphical animated homage to our greyhound called Rockmount Arnie. He was an ex-racing dog that we rescued because sadly greyhounds are just kind of cast away as soon as they're not wanted for racing, and we fell in love with the breed. They're gorgeous dogs. They're big and skinny. They're bloody fast. And so, you know, it's just nice just making personal stuff as well. You know, it's sort of, hopefully people look at it as a nice image, but for me it has a story, and it has a personal connection for me as well. So this is a little glimpse of kind of what I'm working on at the minute. Really, I like spinning as many plates as possible, and I'm not quite sure which one I will finish first and which one I'll mint next. I've got some more audio visual stuff that is more audio reactive, but then I've also got more character based stuff here on the right as well that I need to finish doing some animation. And so yeah, so I'm really enjoying I'm just playing. It's finding the hours and finding what to do next is always the tricky thing, but it's, you know, it's really, really fun to work on that stuff. And just to finish my little presentation, something I'm really excited about is I'm working with the awesome Zanzibar Ventures at Block Party, and I'm going to be sort of like releasing my own sort of collectible pack as well.
Is this what you had mentioned? That was this is a debut.
Yes.
This is news right here. This is breaking news, exclusive to the whale community here.
It is exclusive to the whale community. Yeah, I'm really, really excited that you know, I love, you know, I grew up loving Garbage Pail Kids and Panini stickers.
Yes.
You know, I'm sure like every kid did. I've got the amazing Garbage Pail Kids book right here, which is super good. I don't know if everyone's seen it, but the best part of this is the paper that this is printed on is the same really crap paper that the stickers came in. And when you take off the sleeve, it's just a stick of gum. It's bloody brilliant. So I love that kind of world of collectibles, and I'm going to do you know, my own pack, and sort of obviously sort of like the commons and the rares and the legendaries, and I want to make something bold and bright and probably 2D vector art. Actually, I kind of want to lean back into what I have done most frequently, and I really enjoy making sort of characters and bright and bold stuff. So yeah, I'm really excited to be doing that with Block Party, and just making something fun and collectible that is, you know, that's a slightly different aesthetic to one of one, right? And then that's just fun. I want to lean into that and learn and grow. So I'm really excited for that as well. So there we go. That's kind of actually one more thing that I forgot to say is a friend of mine is a sculptor. He's a great sculptor and he likes sculpting big. And so we're working together on a piece that I'm designing this character that will be, the NFT will be obviously a digital 3D thing, but he's going to make actual physical sculpture, which we're talking quite big, taller than me, like a really big sculpture. I'm massively influenced by the people of like Kors and Jeff Koons and, you know, Erwin Worm, people making really big fun sculptures. And we have the knowledge to do that. So that's going to be an experiment as well, because it's going to have to be quite an expensively priced ETH thing, because making a sculpture and shipping a sculpture is really expensive because they're big. But it feels like this is the space to try it, right? But let's try it. Let's do it. He's brilliant, and my friend Christian, the sculptor, his whole aesthetic is very, very graphic design, very high gloss, premium, and my sort of like natural style is fun, bright, bold, glossy, and so it just feels like, yes mate, let's do it. So we got that to come as well, a big sculpture crypto piece, so can't wait for that. And there we go.
Super exciting. Before I forget, it sounds like you grew up familiar with Garbage Pail Kids. I did too. This is just an idea. I'm just throwing this out there. I know you're going to make the individual packs, but do you remember how jealous you would be of the rumor, or if you saw it, the kid whose dad or something got the uncut sheet from the factory of all the cards together? That could be a super dope NFT. That's just I'm just throwing that out there.
That's a great idea. Yeah, because it was like legendary, wasn't it? It was like literally legendary, not like a legendary pack. It was like, what does that exist?
It would be
real?
The whole series 1 set on an uncut sheet, like someone took it off of a factory thing before the cutter, separated the cards.
Such a good idea. Yes, mate. If you don't mind, I'm going to do that for sure. That's such a brilliant idea.
Okay, if you do, just give me the heads up so I can be ready with my ETH.
Boom.
So much there. I mean, thank you so much for sharing all of that and making it so easy for us to just digest. I know I got a lot of FOMO right there. I'm like, I need to have some of these animated pieces on a mural in my office right now. So I got to see what I can make happen afterwards. It sounds like you were pretty much an advocate of crypto even prior to the NFT scene. Is that right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm really just sort of fascinated with technology anyway, like just decentralization. I think that sort of like excites the old socialist in me, really, about sort of taking the power from certain power holders and it being distributed. That's great. That fundamentally that's a brilliant thing for humans. So I think the technology underlying it, I'm just really excited on. And I accidentally fell into the world of Bitcoin because one of my side projects I made years ago was a film, Bikes Mind, and it's a half-an-hour documentary about fixed gear bikes. A live action documentary, so no animation, and I was riding fixed gear bikes in Bristol, and Bristol is a very hilly city, and so riding a bike with no gears and no brakes is a stupid idea in a hilly city, inspired by people riding them in San Francisco. And so I ended up making a documentary about it with friends, and because it was a passion project that spiraled out of control, it came with branding, it came with events, it came with all sorts of stuff. And then to commemorate, I designed a photo book, like a 25-page photo book that had a DVD. Do you remember DVDs? Had a DVD in it. And so it was this DVD photo book combo that I sold online. And I got an email from someone when I was selling them saying, "Hey, can I pay you in Bitcoin?" And I went, I think I've heard that word. Yeah. I'm just, again, more excited about the technology. And I said, if you can talk me through it, I'd be happy to, because I don't know.
Right.
And yeah, so that was 9 years ago. He paid me 25 quid in Bitcoin. And I don't need to tell you how much that's worth now.
Right.
And I managed to keep it.
Wow.
But I lost it. I lost it for years because I'd totally forgotten. It wasn't until whenever the last Bitcoin explosion was it 2018, 2019?
17, end of 17, yeah.
17, yeah. When it made the news, when it made national news, and it made national news here in the UK, it just sort of like suddenly I heard the word again, and I went, bloody hell! What did I do with that? What did I? And it took me months, and I just presumed I couldn't find it, but I ended up managed to locate it, and so I sort of inadvertently fell into the scene, and I just hold on to it. But then
Awesome.
It was actually my friend Brendan Dawes, who I also met on the speaking circuit. So me and Signal Noise also became really good friends with Brendan. Shout out Brendan, and he was talking crypto a lot on his Twitter, and we thought, well, if Brendan's talking about it, he's a very smart man. we should do what the smart man says. And so me and James just ended up asking Brendan loads of questions about it. And we'd also become friends with David at Known Origin, shout out Known Origin. And he'd actually been trying to explain crypto to me and James for years. And because we were dum-dums, we were sort of going, what? And then once we saw a friend and a peer into it and making crypto art, we were like, okay, David, tell us more. And yeah, shout out David. He onboarded us to Known Origin, and you know, the rest is history. So yeah, I'm really excited to be here and see where it goes for sure.
Awesome. I was very curious how, you know, you evolved and eventually became part of the NFT scene, but that makes perfect sense with the circle that you had running. Ironically, I did not have a stash of Bitcoin from 10 years ago, but I did have the ultimate super smart friend who literally got dragged out of my high school for like running to Juarez or something. I don't remember, but you know, feds came and took this kid out, and he hit me up one day. It was like, you have to take a look at this. And so when those people talk, we definitely listen. So I agree with you with that. In that vein, you know, there's so much possible with it beyond the digital footprint. When you think about the different cool stuff that's going on with AR and VR, with the smart contract, and with you being so versatile with multimedia, any ideas on different ways to apply it and do cool stuff?
That's a great idea. Yeah, I mean, just sort of fascinated by all of that technology. And you know, I get to use a lot of sort of technology in my day job as well. So there's a lot of that, you know, kind of, again, just the day influencing the night and the night influencing the day. Yeah, I mean, I know that in our Exo Syndicate, I know Griff is talking a lot about AR and VR as well. He's really into that scene, and Jay, who's Genuine Human, he's just got on async as well. And so, you know, he's really into that. He's got this gorgeous piece with all of the different layers. So I think we're all in our little group alone just kind of interested in different things. And Signal Noise is just releasing his NFT and the Reaper toy, you know, so he's always wanted to make his own vinyl toy.
Yes, I told him he needs to get that laser scythe in there. I need the laser scythe with the Reaper.
Yeah, man. Yeah, and it's great, isn't it? It's great sort of seeing his progress and his journey as well, and it's just awesome. I managed to get one of the when he minted his prototypes, his iridescent Reaper prototypes. I managed to get one of those, which I'm very proud of. So it's so, I think, to answer your question, yeah, I quite like almost not making a plan and sort of seeing where things take you, and I'm really excited about these collaborations that are, you know, verging on the physical as well, you know, the physical and the NFT stuff as well. And so it'd be really cool, yeah, then almost lean in more to the digital, the totally virtual world, and see where that can take us as well. It sounds great.
Right. And in that vein, you mentioned async. They just announced async music. I think it was yesterday, the day prior, right? So different stems that can combine and change the songs. You can make your own posse cut, literally, right? You can control it. So a lot of cool stuff going on there. Do you want to talk to us a little bit about your music? Is it just a solo project? Do you have a band? Do you release regularly? Tell us a little bit about that as well.
Yeah, I mean, no, I played drums for about the last 15 years, and I have no idea why, but I was so terrified to play in front of anyone. So I've never been in a band. I got into drums because I've always just sort of tuned into the drums in music, and I grew up really loving sort of hip hop, but I also grew up really loving rock as well. And you know, obviously there's great drums in both. And I loved the energy of drums, and I got into it really as kind of more catharsis, you know, just smashing drums, making noise, and you know, it's very physical. I love that about it, and it's you know, I love just putting on sort of the most noisy, intense, fast track and trying to play along. So I've always sort of had drums there as it's a hobby, really, like a true hobby that I never really blended with anything else. But I was also really interested, you know, everyone loves music, and of course, but I just was really interested in the production as well. And I would always, like, LP is a producer that I absolutely love. And, you know, if you guys listen to Run the Jewels, you know how incredible he is.
Right.
But his solo stuff before he formed RTJ just always blew me away. I saw his music very visually. It's very layered and dense. It's almost like a Photoshop document, so much to pick apart. And I think I had these certain artists that I would sort of zone in on and love the production. And like, I'm a big MF Doom fan, and so all of the producers that Doom would work with, I was just always into that. And I think I just, an extension of all of the visual creative stuff that I would just try my hand at, just because I wanted to. I just thought, why am I stopping myself, from doing music? I should just try. I should just play. And so I just would end up playing with different things. And when you're new to something and you don't have enough knowledge yet to even know what to Google. You don't even know what you're doing right or wrong. You don't even have the terminology to progress that far. So I would often try and sort of get into Ableton and then just get a bit stuck. But one year it changed because I bought an Ableton Push, which is a lovely big piece of hardware, and it was about 500 quid, which was significant enough to guilt me into needing to use it. It's sort of like that force thing of, well, you bought it, so you better bloody learn how to use it. So it really forced me into learning it more, and then I really fell in love with it, because then it became tactile. It became like the drums there. It's not just clicking the mouse, it's pushing the pads, it's sort of tactility. And then sort of I've got like I then progressed into this thing, we can barely see it, but it's a Teenage Engineering OPZ, and gorgeous little music making synthesizer sequencer, and sort of fell into the hardware side. I just make music for fun. It's not very good, but I really enjoy doing it. I just call it wonky. I make wonky beats. I struggle with music theory. I've done a few courses. I pick the brains of very smart people, and it just doesn't click for me. So I just try and play and make something that I believe in. And yeah, I'm inspired by sort of rap, metal and stuff like that. So I quite like a solid beat. I guess it always comes back to drums. So then crypto, felt like it was a space for me to play and experiment, and doing the visual, things that would come along with it, make it audio visual. This is perfect. This is perfect. And then it gives you more confidence to go forwards. And yeah, and since then I have got more confident, and I've sort of made a few beats for people, and done a few extra things, and on my live streams, to force myself to not be so precious and to not be so nervous, I have like a musical interlude halfway through a stream where I just make up something and play on the OPZ, and it terrifies me, and I feel really self-conscious, but I feel better for doing it afterwards. So if anything, it's just a device to force myself to be a little uncomfortable. But yeah, I sort of put my work on SoundCloud and stuff when I can. Make music.
I was just going to tell everyone. I was just going to tell everyone to be sure to check your Twitch, because you break it out in the middle there, and it's pretty impressive. You're pretty humble in the way you're describing it, but it's the equivalent of getting up there and freestyling. It definitely sharpens steel and gets you on point. So I think I would encourage everybody. Amazing content. I don't think we talked about it enough, but what you do on Twitch and YouTube is impressive.
Oh, thank you, mate. That's really kind. The Twitching came about because of COVID. I really enjoy giving talks. I've been doing that since 2008. I really, really enjoy, I love what I do, and I really enjoy talking about it. And I also then have kind of enjoyed turning it into a show, I guess. So my talks are always quite big and quite loud and quite silly. My thinking being that you won't learn anything at one of my talks, but hopefully you feel something, even if it's this guy's an idiot. I kind of want just sort of like big bombastic energy. And then I sort of started just trying to make those things bigger and bigger. And I've kind of got another thing here called a MIDI 5 to 3D. It's like a 16 button, it's arcade buttons that you can all map to samples. And so I bought that to force myself to play something live in the middle of a talk. And it was all triggering samples and sound effects and beats and stuff. And so yeah, so doing that, I really missed it when COVID hit, and I just thought maybe Twitch could be an outlet. And so I then sort of just carried on doing the same thing, really, just trying to share. Sometimes sharing my own work, sharing process, it's sharing different types of work or behind the scenes for projects, but also sometimes I really love just dissecting other people's work in a really positive way. It's not a critical thing, it's just look at this person, aren't they incredible? And I just try and make the streams like a positive space. If anything, again with COVID, I wanted the streams to be like an hour where you can just escape the horrors of the internet. This was, during last year with, Trump's presidency and everything that was going on. It was just, the world seemed like it was a hellscape. So I just want to create this sort of positive space, and that's what I try and do, really. And yeah, just try and be a bit of a positive idiot.
Yeah, no, props to you for that, because you definitely accomplished that, and for sticking with those pads and learning how to sequence and do it properly. I think I had an MPC 2000 for like a week and had to return it because I was an absolute failure. So I can definitely.
They're hard, though, aren't they? They're hard.
Yeah, they definitely are.
Overwhelming, I think.
Man, I could talk to you for hours because I just enjoy, first of all, your art, and then, just your approach to everything. So thank you again so much for coming on. I have some questions for the audience I want to make sure I get to, because we have a lot and people were very interested in your work. The first one says, of your pieces, which one is your favorite and why?
That's a flipping great question. As in my crypto art pieces, do you think?
Correct.
I think, looking at that there, I mean, my Genesis piece, which is the cross with the glowing gold things, it's special because it was the first, and it was this dipping my toe into this wild, weird world. So that feels really special. And Ian, who collected it, who's Zanzibar Ventures at Block Party, like he's been a lovely support of mine. He's been real encouragement, and I really respect him, and really, I'm thankful to him for that. The Pink Jam Factory, the editions that I love. Again, it means something to me because it's celebrating 20 years of making silly things. So that means something. And then the characters at the bottom, these giddy midi character sort of audio visual stuff. I like it because it did the music, did the art, did the animation. I like it. I like sort of taking full control over it. So yeah, it's hard to pick one, but I think the combination of those three, I reckon.
Excellent. Yeah, I would say that those are awesome as well. But I do have a soft spot in my heart for the pixelated guy in the middle that talks to the gamer in me, especially when you said he was glitched. So I think, he needs some love from me. Someone asked, assuming the toys are outsourced, any thoughts on 3D printing and making your own physical art?
Yeah, that's a really good idea. Yeah, the toys were outsourced. They were vinyl toys, so they were made at a factory in China back in the day. And the toys are a few years old now. But yeah, 3D printing's changing. And funny enough, there actually has been a character design that I've had that I'm sort of turning into a 3D printed toy for a while. That, working at Aardman, there's a lot of very talented model makers and sculptors and prop makers. And 3D printing is a huge part of their workflow. And so I'm working with someone at the minute to make some toys that weren't planned as NFTs. They may make it as NFTs, but yeah, I think that's great. I think what is so exciting is that is kind of 3D printing, and that sort of stuff is democratized, sort of creating more things at yourself that you previously, you have to have a minimum of 1,000, right? Or
right.
At very least. So I think that's really, really exciting. And the things that you can do with it as well, the materials that you can print in, or, you might just 3D print your master and then you still then take it to somewhere else and get molds made, for example. But, it's in line with the decentralization, it's giving power back to people to sort of be creative and see what they can do. That's a great thing.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. This is a question / comment suggestion. Has Jam Factory ever curated a live event, or would you consider hosting an event in the future when it's safe, because your work looks like it would lend itself to an awesome art rave?
Oh, that's a very kind thing to say. Thank you, lovely person on the internet. I've sort of done a few. Yeah, I mean, I've had my own solo shows here in England, which were great, and they were kind of like everything that I guess I'm showing you. They were kind of a mad hodgepodge of everything. I had prints, I had photos, I had toys, I had clothing, I kind of skateboards. I kind of wanted it to be everything. So I've kind of done my own stuff, and I've also sort of guest curated a few events. I did a thing called sound design a few years ago, which I love music videos. I basically learned to be a filmmaker from watching Aphex Twin, Chris Cunningham videos in the 2000s, and Hype Williams basically taught me how to use a fisheye lens, watching Busta Rhymes videos. So I curated this thing called sound design, which was all sort of mixing visual design and musicians, and I was the host, and it was wicked. But yeah, I'd love to do stuff like that. There's a great sort of creative called Cool Shit that I love. They are a creative outfit that do these big, mad, fun installations, and they're always full of energy, and they're always sort of creative. So yeah, I'd love to do big stuff like that, just to make things fun. And I think that's what I try and do in my talks, on stage talks, is that's a chance for me in 45 minutes or an hour to sort of take control. And I like making my slide look nice, and I like it sounding good. So yeah, so great suggestion. I would love to do more of that for sure.
Very cool. With so much variety in styles and themes, what do you want to experiment with that you haven't yet?
Well, that's a good question. Do you know what? I probably don't know. And I think that's great. I mean, I love, before I did 3D stuff, I've really enjoyed getting 3D. Now, 3D is hard as well. I don't use it enough to be a master. I use it for what I use it for. So of course I want to experiment more with that. I want to get more into real-time stuff, and so there's a big project I'm working in my daytime in Unreal Engine, but I was playing a bit with Notch mid last year as well, which is real-time 3D rendering, and I sort of actually made a beat I made a piece of music on the OPZ, and then it was all running in real-time audio reactive on Notch as well. So I'd like to do more of that. I'd love to do more physical stuff. I love, so sort of getting into more sculpture, more characterful stuff. That's getting harder as the world is the way it is, and we can't travel and we can't do those things. And also I don't want to be wasteful. I'm very mindful of that. So yeah, but I quite like just not knowing. There's always styles that I want to emulate and learn and love, and I think it's just about trying to force your own side project to make it happen. So who knows what's coming down the line.
Very cool. What do you consider to be your biggest creative influences?
Oh, that is a great question. It doesn't go a day. It absolutely doesn't. It is not my style or anything. But Akira, the manga masterpiece, is constantly on my mind. I've never seen anything so amazing in my entire life. So that's like this guiding beacon of just the possibility of creation. It's nothing to do with what I do, but I find that I've always just found that this thing that I can't stop thinking about. But yeah, music videos in the 2000s were a really, really big influence on me. I think it was sort of the versatility and the creativity all within a short space of time. In 3 minutes, you can sort of see these visuals that you'd never seen before, and it could tell a story. So sort of, the directors of that era as well, of Spike Jonze, Chris Cunningham were really big. Cause as well. Yeah, I love Cause because he, grew up a graffiti kid and, would bomb New York City. But, then he started doing these poster takeovers where he would take posters out, the ad posters, and paint over them, put them back. And then he progressed in characters and toys and sculptures, so he's a really big sort of defining light for me. And basically anyone in the awesome Netflix documentary series Abstract, The Art of Design. If you haven't watched that on Netflix, I absolutely urge you to. It's a really insightful, wonderful creative program documenting some amazing creatives. So my influence has changed all the time. I think I'm like a magpie in that sense as well. I get stoked on what other people are doing, and I get really jealous, but I also get really stoked as well. So that's ever shifting when I see people doing great work.
I can totally relate. It's like when you see someone else is art gets you hyped, then you want to run and you feel like you need to create as well, right? It gets you kind of all like the juices flowing, and it doesn't have to be the same medium. I could hear some, music of a totally different genre, but it's put together well. It gets me, wanting to celebrate in their success by also being creative. So awesome
Yeah.
influences there. Here's a great question, and I need to know the answer to this myself. Working full-time and coming home to do personal stuff has been a major challenge. How do you get motivated at 5 a.m. in the morning to do such vivid work? What's your process to reinvigorate yourself?
That's a really good question. I think, do you know what? I think having a routine has really helped. So I do the 5 a.m. thing Monday to Friday, not the weekends. Me and my wife are really strict with each other, not with each other, but we just know that we need the weekend to recharge. Like we both got our balance wrong in the early days, and we will work ourselves into the ground. So I think having balance is very, very useful. And I think for me at the minute, it's the 5 a.m. thing. It's the only time I've got to myself. My two kids, my daughter, she's only 3 months old, and my son is 4. And I was saying to Nytmare just before we went live that he's going through some big emotional swings at the minute, and I'm not going to lie, it's tough. It's really tough. It's been a tough week. It's emotionally tough. We're kind of exhausted. So I think we're quite kind to ourselves in that there's going to be an ebb and a flow. And one day this week I didn't get up at 5. I forgot to set my alarm, and I guess I needed to sleep. So I'm quite kind to myself that I might not always be as productive as possible. But when I do get up, I mean, there's also some practical reasons for me. I set my alarm very quietly, and our daughter sleeps in the same room as us because she's still so young. So as soon as that alarm gets off, I can't press snooze because I'm going to wake up my wife and my daughter. Right. So it's sort of like I try and engineer it in a way where I have to do it. Whether that's getting up early or whether that's working late. I think I just have to sort of trick myself into doing it because it is really difficult. Finding time and energy, I think, are the two hardest things to do as a creative. But I just try and picture sort of the end goal, picture the excitement that you get from finishing a project, or at least or being in the zone. It feels really special. So I try every trick in the book to force myself just to get on with it, basically, and stop scrolling on Instagram. Just tell myself off and get going.
Great advice. Thank you so much for that, because I know that's been asked a lot of times in the chat here today, and even myself, just looking at your output on what you say is such limited time is just mind-blowing. So great to hear perspective from you. Gavin, thank you so much for spending so much time with us today. Before we part, can you let everyone know, one, where you'd like them to find you? We've shared your socials, but if you have one that's your preference, and two, what you'd like everybody to be on the lookout for coming next from you.
First of all, thank you so much, everyone, for listening. Thank you, Discord, for having me. Nytmare, you've been an absolute gem. It's honestly, I'm really excited to be here. And I really appreciate you taking the time to have me on. So thank you for that. The best place to find me is probably those links below. You can find me at Jam Crypto here on Twitter. I'm also Jam Factory on Twitter, which is my sort of main account. I'm at Jam Factory on Instagram. Known Origin is my, big ups Known Origin. That's my first gallery. I love being there. Big ups David and the KO team. So please, if you like my work, come and have a look at what I've got on there. I'm also on Foundation. So I'm kind of all over the internet. You can sort of see everything I talk about on my website, jam-factory.com. So yeah, do come and say hello. I love meeting new people virtually, and this is what's so exciting about this space. So do come find me. But as for what's next, I'm going to be playing with some some new techniques and looking at physical bundles as well, which I'm really hyped on. And then as I mentioned, I'm really excited about jam packs. I'm calling them. Well, that was actually Ian Zanzibar's idea to call them jam packs. Some collectibles coming on Block Party as well. So look out for that. But thank you so much for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure and a joy. And thank you for the great questions. You're all very kind.
Thanks again. And we will be looking for that uncut sheet of the jam packs, the super rare. We'll be looking for it. So thanks again, Gavin. Have a great night.
You too. Thanks ever so much, everyone. Have a great night.